Hello and welcome back. I have returned with the vampire. Have been working on the ship for a while now. Some skills have been completed and maxed out, so it will allow me to further improve the ship. And well, I also changed the rigs and fit a little bit, and I think that you will like the ship this time around. Now, let's pop the fitting window and let's see what I changed. So 543.27 DPS at the moment with C-type beam pulse lasers. I still prefer to use beam lasers in PvP with the dual web setup, and I'll explain why later on. But for close range combat or medium range combat, the pulse lasers are going to do a good job. Now in the medium slots you see dual Nosferatus. Now I've been doing some calculations, and having another neutralizer instead of the medium Nosferatu is actually a lot more deadlier, because it can delete the enemy ship's capacitor very quickly, or should I say it can suck the enemy ship capacitor dry very quickly. 355 gigajoules upon contact with the enemy ship, and the large Nosferatu takes 368 gigajoules per cycle. That's a lot of energy being drained from the enemy ship. It practically kills the capacitor of frigates, and it kills the capacitor of cruisers also very quickly, and battle cruisers, which makes this ship very feared in the field of PvP. Now there's that little drone, afterburner, dual invulnerability fields, and of course the good old C-type large shield booster. Been using the medium one so far. People recommended me to use a large shield booster, and well, here it is, the large shield booster on the Ashimmu. It is rather interesting that this ship is cap stable with dual Nosferatus with this large shield booster. That is also quite good for PvE, quite good for storylines, and also excellent for PvP. The resistances will be very nice. I'm thinking if I should replace that one rig, as you are going to see here. One anti-thermal and one anti-EM. Now should I replace this rig with another shield resistance rig, because I think I can further improve on the ship's resistance, although I can also use that rig to improve DPS. And of course triple power grid rig to, improve the ship's power grid. Now, I mentioned that I like to use my beam lasers, and well, that is mostly because of the situations that PvP throws me at. In most cases, I am not doing 1v1s anymore, it's usually 2 versus 1 or 3 versus 1, because I'm getting jumped left and right, sadly, or I don't know how to feel about that. I mean, it's my honor in the end. And in that case I like to pop that second web. Now the webs have good range, 26.64 in my case here. Once I have the web skill maxed out, it should be 29.9 kilometers. That is, I think, one of the next skills that I am working on. And it appears that, all of these weapons, including the medium slot weapons, are having very similar range to the beam lasers, which makes it optimal to use them at 20 plus kilometers, far away and safe from the vast majority of PvP ships that are running around. Now I need to try this medium neutralizer in PvP. I'm quite curious to see how it will affect the performance of the ship. It will definitely kill capacitors very quickly, While this capacitor on this ship is so far kind of stable, in both cases it is stable, although for some reason when I use the neutralizer it says 2 minutes, while when I use dual Nosferatus it says minus 0.1%, although it's stable at 60 or 70% in active usage. I have already tested those things out. Okay, time to see the resistance and the speed. The DPS I think should improve in the upcoming days. Level 5 expert skills are coming for the lasers, so that's one thing that I am looking forward to. These are some very nice resistances. I can again improve them if I change that one rig. Capacitor stable, signature radius is okay. 830 meters per second. This ship is a flying brick. I mean, it's not too bad. Again, for PvP I definitely use a micro updrive, but 830 meters per second with the afterburner, oh man. This is going to be fun. And that was nice, actually nice survivability on this liquid cruiser. Okay, well let's play around and let's see how it will work. I feel a lot safer now using that large shield booster. No longer do I have to be worried about getting jumped while doing any storyline. Capacitor stable with the large shield booster running at all times. That's I think a very important trait of this ship. And also I am curious to see how will the rebalance patch affect this ship. Will it actually be better to use a armor tank when that rebalance patch is live? Or is the shield tank Ashimmu still going to work? That's the question that is, kind of making me nervous. I'll have to spend a lot of ISK to get the rigs and the modules overall to change the fit. So I'm curious what you think about that. Is it going to make a major difference, or should I keep the shield tank? Because, so far I've been flying this ship in PvP, been flying this ship in a lot of situations. I love it, it works without a problem. Now with the large shield booster it should be a lot more lethal, a lot more effective. With my skills being maxed out, that will also further improve on this ship. One aspect where actually two aspects where the Ashimmu is lacking is DPS and speed. Speed is something that is very important for me. I get very uncomfortable flying slow ships, especially in PvP, which shouldn't be a problem on the Ashimmu, especially with dual webs. You can web your targets way before they can even get close to you. But even with that, it is still, kind of uncomfortable, for me at least, to fly slow ships after getting used to Cinderballa's insane velocity. Ashimmu's DPS, you don't feel the lack of it when your target doesn't have any capacitor, because, well, no cap, no hardeners, and no hardeners, no resistance. So you are practically going to shoot at base resistances on most ships. Might fight some of them that have these resistance rigs that have a passive effect. That might be, a little problem, but in the end, most ships that use energy weapons, like, let's say, weapons that use energy, like lasers or railguns, once their capacitor is out, they are not going to be able to damage you, so they are going to be pretty much a sitting duck, a easy target. While ships that use missiles or cannons, they can be a problem, because cannons and missiles don't need capacitor to run. Cinnabal being the ship that I really don't want to get close to, you can kill a Cinnabal with Ashimmu even at 14-15 kilometers, but if it gets too close to you, that might be a problem. Those things can have crazy DPS, My Cinnabal currently is on the way to hit 2000 DPS, which will be fun. I mean, that's already battleship DPS. I don't want to be anywhere near a cruiser that can dish out 2000 DPS in a 30 seconds time span. That doesn't sound like being too much healthy for my ship. So have to be careful around those angel ships, my current favorites. As for its velocity, well, if you're going to fight Cinnabal with a Ashimmu, web it at range, don't let it get too close. Kill its capacitor and then slowly chip away at its shield, armor and hull. That's at least in theory how I plan to shoot down these ships. Practically how I plan to shoot down most ships with this empire. Now, the dual web beam setup is the setup that I prefer to use. Again, mainly that is because of the current situation that I got myself into thanks to the long career of PvP and of course, well, the career of being a pirate in a way. That kind of backfired a little bit, but it was fun. It's still fun though. I met a lot of people that way and all of them were very, very nice people actually. Was nice to have a little duel with them, although it wasn't quite a duel. It was like 2 versus 1 in like 90% of cases. And thanks to those dual webs, I managed to survive. I can tell you, if I had one web, and of course if I used pulse lasers, with the previous build I would have gotten myself into some very tricky situations. Most likely I would survive. I would be able to kill the ships, I think, quite faster with pulse lasers, thanks to the higher DPS. But it would be tricky once, you know, once other ships start to join the fun, once other ships start to, you know, find my traces where I roam around, and when they start to, you know, jump in and join the team that's shooting at me. That also happened, by the way. Thanks again to the webs, I managed to slip through that. Although it was, you know, as usual it is always exciting in a way. But man, this ship is also not that cheap. I think the price for the Ashimmu going up rapidly. Last time I checked, it was at 2.4 billion. I got this ship for 1.2. How the hell did the price go up in such a short time? I mean, people love this ship, I guess. They fly it. I take good care of this thing. And soon enough, I'll take it out for a good old solo PvP roam. I just have to wait out just a little bit to lose the track of some hunters that, you know, are after me. You know, it's quite funny when I, for example, join a fleet and I see the exact same people literally a couple jumps behind me, and when we, you know, start to move out with a massive fleet, for example, when we go to do some, when we have to shoot down some citadels, defend and things like that, they, you know, just vanish. So things are absolutely very dynamic in this game. Now, pulse lasers have higher DPS. They sure have very good shield killing abilities, if I can put it that way. Lasers absolutely love to shoot at shields. They do mainly electromagnetic damage, EM damage. Shields have a huge hole on EM. While that resistance goes up on the armor, then the main damage drops to thermal. Lasers do thermal, but it is quite small compared to the percentage that they do in the EM damage type, which is not a problem, but it is something that you should keep in mind. Ships with very high thermal armor resistance are going to be very tanky against Ashimmu. Of course, if you kill their capacitor first, then they lose some of that tank. Still will have a quite decent thermal resistance on the armor, and of course, if they have rigs that can be further improved. So that's one of those things that you have to keep in mind while flying basically any ship that uses lasers. My favorite damage type, drones and cannons. Drones because, well, drones are perfect for storyline missions, still perfect, will always be perfect. That is something that they can't change. NPCs will never shoot drones, so drones are always going to be safe from that. And cannons because of their high DPS, because of the nasty damage they do on armors and hulls, and of course because of the Cinnabal. That ship kind of, when I bought my first faction cruiser was Phantasm, I thought that I wouldn't like a Cinnabal after that. I thought that the Phantasm was a perfect ship for me. After I blew up that thing, I went on to the Cinnabal and practically never looked back at the Phantasm because the Cinnabal is just doing things a lot better. And of course, it is one of the cruisers with the highest DPS in the game. It's also insanely fast. All things that I need. Now I know it's not the prettiest ship in the game. It is actually quite ugly if you ask me, one of the ugliest ships in the game. It has literally a face that I can't unsee if you look at it from the front. Surprisingly, I grew to actually love the design of the ship, despite it being extremely unattractive. But the ship is, performing quite good. And speaking of ship designs, Ashimmu looks like a shark, if you ask me. Was looking at some documentaries a couple days ago, and they talked about some sharks. And first thing that came to my mind when I saw those beasts swimming around, I thought about the Ashimmu roaming around in nullsec, waiting for victims. It's the nose part of the ship. The design absolutely reminds me of a shark, and I guess that was the inspiration behind this ship's design. Hoping for some skins for it in the future. At the moment, skins shouldn't be a topic, shouldn't be the main thing the developers should be working on. The classic Bloods pattern, the classic Blood pattern is looking nice, although I think in EVE Online you have a lot of different skins for the ship. I actually forgot. We'll have to check that out at some point. Well, as you can see, the capacitor holding out quite well so far. Not quite sure why the game tells me that the capacitor is, well, it's barely stable, although it's quite stable. Left it for 30 minutes running, and it did not want to drop below 60 or 70%. That's quite stable. Now, if only I would be able to fit dual large Nosferatus, or one large Nos and one large neutralizer. I think I can do that. I will have to change the large shield booster into a medium shield booster. That's a weird idea, actually. Is it actually worth it? How much capacitor will this ship kill with one large Nosferatu and one large neutralizer. Well, I mean, definitely frigates are gonna be toasted. This ship is a frigate killer. No frigate in the game should be getting close to an Ashimmu. Not because of the webs, well actually yeah, because of the web range. Dramiel, for example, if you web a Dramiel, it is a dead Dramiel. But because of the neutralizers and Nosferatus, they can kill your capacitor. Frigates mostly depend on speed, and well, you have to be away from the webs, Cram or Nosferatu range. In a case against an Ashimmu, you can't do that. The only thing that you can do is stay away from it, because these things bite, and they sure hurt if they keep on shooting at you. Well then, I have to admit, this ship so far been working quite well. No issues with it whatsoever. The large modules, the new modules, the replaced rigs and the upgraded skills are all working flawlessly. The only thing that I am now looking forward to is to see how will this ship work when they change the way armor tank works. I think it would be a worthy test when the change happens. I mean, I think I did a couple videos on a armor tank Cinnabal. Worked quite well, surprisingly it worked really well. And it will be time to see how that will change when, of course, when they decide to release the next patch, the rebalance patch, that is, I think, in this month actually. I forgot what the roadmap actually tells us, either this month or the next one. I hope for this month, but it could be the next one, I don't know. I know that scanning is coming the next month, so that's a thing that I am looking forward to. Will be fun to fly around with the good old Astra and the good old Stratios. Those two ships are going to be fun. As for the Ashimmu, well, still going to remain my primary PvP ship, still going to remain one of the most feared ships in the game, and still going to remain the one and only our favorite vampire, because to date I think there is no other ship that can do things the Ashimmu can. So absolutely one unique deadly ship that I am glad I bought because its price at the moment is getting up, and losing it will hurt a lot more than it was, well, than it was before. So I have to be very careful at what I am doing, because that bounty is still floating around my head and that bounty ain't going anywhere, but that's okay. It makes the game a lot more fun. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed. That was the reworked Ashimmu that I'll be now taking into PvP from now on. And with that being said, hope you enjoyed. Stay safe, fly safe, and I'll see you next time.